Hey YouTube, here's Thomas, also known as T Quaxify. Here we have my special guest, Jessica, also known as Showyowl.
Hi guys.
Okay. And before we get started to our video, I'm going to go show you guys I just made this today. The video for last video, we're talking about AFI. And I have 2 copies of the signed the vinyl LP of the Blood album signed by all 4 members. This is one of my copies. And I went out to the store at Park Avenue CDs today, which is our local record store. And I went ahead and buy one of those. Finally, it's been a long time. I needed to get that done. And I don't know how many times we talked about that I need to frame this. So we decided I got the frame, and this is nice to have. And right here, with the frame, I have my signed copy of my ticket when I went to see AFI in Orlando. That's also a You're Welcome Back kind of show when she moved back from Missouri. Mm-hmm. And here is signed by the David Havoc, which is more than just a signed ticket because this gives me the memory of actually talking to David Havoc himself, which we'll talk a lot about David Havoc later on what we're about to talk about. Mm-hmm. And so basically, on this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about 3 new albums from this year. It's already halfway through the year, and so far there has been a lot of music releases that are amazing, but we're going to talk about 3 that we know of. And the 3 we're going to talk about is
And the CD holder.
Dreamcar, which is the first debut album, self-titled. And what's really cool about this is Jessica's copy.
Yes.
Check that out.
I pre-ordered that. It's a signed copy by all 4 members of the band, and 3 of those guys from No Doubt. You have Tony, Tom, and why am I not thinking right? My mind is not working.
Wait, don't
yes.
tell me.
Yeah.
Adrian Young.
Adrian. Yeah. I'm sorry, Adrian.
Which is
my brain's not working.
This band is a super group, which is
a formation of both Davey from AFI and those 3 wonderful guys from No Doubt. I listened to No Doubt actually when I was about 12 or 13. It was one of the first bands that got me into rock and alternative, paving the way for my adult life. So I listened to them before I listened to AFI actually, because I discovered AFI when I was in high school. So they sort of paved the way for AFI for me. So it's funny that this has come full circle where they're joining together and combining their tastes and their sounds and talents, and now I listen to Dreamcar as well as both of them also. So I'm just glad to have this. This is fantastic, and I really love this album a lot. It's really grown on me a lot since it came out, and I believe it came out on May 12th.
Yes.
Which is the same day as the new Paramore album.
Which we're also going to talk about. Which I was surprised that Paramore released this album. I didn't even know they were releasing this album until the 2 days before they released this, and I just had to pre-order because I'm a big Paramore fan. Mm-hmm. And this is their 5th album. They've been playing for so long. This is their 5th album, and every album has been solid.
Yes.
And we're actually going to go see them in a show in September. We bought
the
last 2 tickets for that show. It sold out the day it was on sale.
It sold out within, I think, an hour of them posting.
Yes. But there's an extra few seats, but it's pretty much sold out.
Yeah.
If
you wanted 2 or more together, then it was we got I think the last ones.
We got 5 seats apart, but still we're going, which is important.
It's only 5 seats apart. It should be fine. So that'll be my second time seeing Paramore.
Yep.
In
After Laughter.
September. Hard to see in this lighting. It's a very pastel, 80s inspired album. Which another thing that's interesting. These 2 albums have a lot of musical parallels. I feel, bringing the 80s back more clearly. I think in the influence today. Some similar styles. I think my favorites so far, currently my favorites from Dreamcar are Born to Lie, Kill for Candy, and Do Nothing right now. Born to Lie, I think especially, is my favorite. And then this one so far, Hard Times, of course, one of the singles, is really wonderful. It's so catchy.
Yes. And in addition to these 2 albums, the most recently released is one of my favorite bands of all times. And I've been listening to them for many years now, since I was in middle school, back in 2006. Here is the new album, Wolves, by Rise Against, which their most popular song from this album is The Violence, which every time I hear that, I'm so enthusiastic when it's on the radio.
Yeah.
You can literally hear this on the radio about like once every 30 minutes or so, or maybe once every hour.
When they're not playing commercials.
Yes.
Which is rare.
And I love this album. But so we're gonna review these three albums. We're gonna go from Dreamcar to Paramore, and well, we kind of gave you a little introduction, but we're excited to actually talk more about these. And I've been listening to these a lot, and I'm looking forward to the future albums in the future, and just presenting this information about these albums and showing our passion for music is just great for us to show you guys. But we're gonna go ahead and start off with the Dreamcar album.
Yes.
Now, I'm a big AFI fan. It's actually one of my all-time favorite bands up there, and it's one of my favorite bands too.
Yes.
And what got me into this album, I didn't even know Dreamcar was forming before this album was created.
They kept it under wraps very well, which they'll talk about these days too. They kept it pretty close to the chest. They just wanted to kind of have fun with it. They weren't really sure what it would lead to, and this is just what organically happened. I'm so glad for them.
Yes, and I personally have never been a No Doubt fan. I've never heard very much of their work, and I've heard that they were ska category. What's ska?
Definitely ska inspired, especially in the earlier days. A lot of it was more essentially ska, but it ended up being more like a mix of their own, really, with different influences. Definitely alternative.
Yeah. And what gets me about this album is we're listening to this album, and I didn't expect it to. Well, of course, it's not going to be the same as AFI because it's more dark, more alternative, more of a punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
And this album is definitely kind of almost the opposite, if not completely different.
Mm-hmm. Musically, it feels much more lighthearted than AFI, or even in some cases Black Audio. Black Audio is typically very up-tempo, and sometimes it sounds lighthearted, but it still has kind of that like dark wave sort of vibe to it. And certainly Extremist is way more intense in its themes as well, which is important for Extremist. But I feel that this is definitely the most musically lighthearted thing that Davey has worked on, for sure. But again, if you look at the lyrics, he still has his, there's still the emotional intensities here and there.
And that's
but it's still more fun. It's a more fun kind of vibe overall, even lyrically.
Yeah, and it has like a very strong. It has a. You can tell there's an 80s inspiration to it. Like, there's like The Cure, there's like Depeche Mode, and I feel like this is not exactly like them, but I feel there's a reminiscence of these different bands from the 80s that influence these guys and their sounds. It has very synth poppy, very water atmospheric sounds to it, very water aquatic kind of feel, like very hollows, very whispers in your ear kind of deal with nature. Yeah. It's a natural feel for it. And certainly Kill for Candy is the song that really grabs my attention with this album. It's the one I've been listening to a lot the most. It's because it's so different. It's not really what I've heard before.
Right. It's very catchy.
But
there's definitely a Pet Shop Boys vibe sometimes here too.
And yes, this is just a solid album, and I even got a copy myself too. This is you get this copy from Amoeba Records, which is a California company that sells records, and this is actually signed by all four, which is amazing, and definitely, even if it's not signed, yeah, it has a really good cover going on, and has like all the colors.
It looks very like psychological. It's got 4 different figures, I assume, representing the fellows in the band. In different colors with slightly different designs inside them.
Yes, in other words, get this copy. It's the first album. I wasn't disappointed whatsoever. I'm a big hardcore punk fan, and I still really authentically enjoy this album a lot. I would listen to this car maybe other than drive. And yeah, just definitely get this album. It's really good.
Got any favorite tracks of your own?
From this?
Yeah.
Born to Lie is good. I certainly do love Do Nothing and Slip on the Moon. I mean, the title really fits the sound of the album itself.
Right.
What really grabs your attention? That's a question.
Like I referenced before, I've always loved Kill for Candy ever since it came out, and Born to Lie as well, and Do Nothing. I think are my 3 favorites for now.
Yes. Okay. There's our segment of Dreamcar, their first debut album.
We're excited to see what else they do in the future. Should be awesome.
And Davey, if you're listening to this, please come to Orlando with the Dreamcar. I would love to see you guys live. I will be there.
Florida
Give
loves
us
you
support.
guys. Come on.
Yes.
And that goes for Black Audio too. I have not seen them either.
And I did ask you, Avi, or there's a chance you could go to
No.
Orlando, and you made it sound like you would. But
Got a lot of fans here, even if you don't think you do. And even if they're not from Orlando, they come down to Orlando. We know because we've met people from all over. So.
yeah. And on to the next album.
Alright,
Also one
Paramore.
of my favorite bands.
Also released, like I said, on May 12th, which is interesting that they were at the same time. I don't know. I don't think they can. I mean, we
Yeah.
could choose to believe that, oh, they're good friends and they chose to do that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fun for us.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
music all at once.
This album is also the album where, well, unfortunately, Jeremy Davis left the band, the bassist, but I think Zach Farrow, the original drummer of the band, I think he might be the original, but I knew him consistently. He was back in the Riot.
Mm-hmm.
He came back to the band, and now he's on this album.
Came back.
And this song really hooks you in. It definitely is not like any other Paramore album. This is their fifth. It feels almost very different from Riot, Brand New Eyes, and All We Know Is Falling.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely, I would say, more mature. Sometimes I feel funny calling a musician's later work more mature because, like, obviously people grow with time, and it just kind of sounds cliche, but it does sound more, I guess, balanced and kind of thoughtful in a way.
Yes.
It's hard to explain. It sounds a bit more grown up.
The lyrics really speak out a lot about life, and especially for everyone going through their 20s or even their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It really speaks out a lot, and this album really has a strong kind of 80s pop, 90s pop feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I listen to this, it reminds me when I was a kid when I was listening to a lot of Cyndi Lauper with my mom.
Yes, yeah.
And it's also Madonna has kind of those feels too. It has a really poppy, very spunky feel to it.
It takes you back.
Especially the song Hard Times. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a song that sounds sad, but it really kind of peps you up. But it's kind of like it's a complicated feeling.
Right, which I think they were trying to convey, especially Haley. I think she was trying to get that across, that, you know, that's a realistic view on what it means to be human, and, you know, to have human feelings. You, especially in your 20s, I think getting into your 30s, you kind of go through this time when you have such mixed emotions about the way things are going in the future. And if you deal with something like depression, for instance, you can have those kinds of feelings, but you can also feel very ecstatic too at the same time. Or, you know, a fair assessment of life is seeing both the really, really positive things and also the really negative things at the same time. It's not all, you know, sunshine and daisies, but it's not all dark shadows either. It's both, and that's what makes life so
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, and it certainly has a good number of tracks. It has 12 tracks in it. Of course, it's still the producers are Fueled by Ramen,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and what the first three songs are what really brings me the most. It really grabs your attention throughout the whole album. It's not it doesn't see, it feels like a concept album, but it really isn't. It has some continuity to it.
No, I don't think any of these are concept albums.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, there is. I don't think there's a single Paramore album that's a concept album. But though the songs feel like they mix together, but they're really not. At least according to the interviews I've looked in the past, there's no speak of concept albums. You know,
There's
Riot, all I Know Is Falling, Brand New Eyes.
There's a
certain others.
continuity to the music itself, which I think is good, you know. But yeah, that doesn't mean it has to tell a specific story arc or anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would you say is your favorite song from this album?
So far, I think Hard Times is my favorite. It is one of the singles, but it's a single for a reason.
And if you guys haven't seen the music video for that, it's very, very entertaining.
Mhm.
Very creative, very colorful,
Mhm.
artistic, very creative.
colorful. I've always loved how colorful they are. Haley, aside from her hair, she's just always been a very colorful person. The band has been very colorful, especially now. It's very, like, pop art-esque, but, like, more pastel pop art. And I think it's cool, like, just the little designs that they have in here, all the details, if you look. And on the back, there's a leaf that looks like kind of like a tropical leaf. So I know it's like backwards. And I think that kind of matches with Hard Times, kind of like near the end. That little, like,
Yeah, definitely a dance album.
I love that. I don't know the technical term.
For you guys out there, I highly encourage you to buy one of these. Get it on vinyl. I don't think you can get this on vinyl, but at least get the CD. It's really nice and definitely something you'll listen and it'll speak to you. At least for some of you, it definitely spoke out to me a lot.
Me too. Especially like fake happy, for instance. You know how in our society we all kind of pretend on the surface that we're doing just fine. How are you? I'm good. How are you? And it's like a greeting. It's not really a question that we intend to have answered. But are we really okay? Like, important to think about, especially with social media.
It raises questions. It really does.
I was gonna say. Also, I have actually met Hayley Williams. I don't know if she would remember, but we're about the same height and kind of the same build. But I met her when I was working at Ollivander's wine shop in Islands of Adventure here in Orlando, Florida, a few years back. It must have been like 2013 or 2014, something like that. Maybe 2012 when I started. But I was working there in the little wand experience where you see someone get their wand like Harry did, and she came in with a group of people. It wasn't even a private show. A lot of celebrities will just do like a private one so that people stay away from them, but she just went in with everyone else, and she was right next to me the whole time. And on her way out, she was with Chad, of course, her husband, Chad Ball, and on her way out, I told her really quickly, I said, "Your voice is amazing," and she said thank you, so that was really cool.
Yes.
Didn't expect that.
Wish I was there. I have a long time crush on Hayley Williams, and Chad's such a lucky guy. I don't even like Me Found Glory. Actually, I do. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. But yeah, just the album, totally check it out. After Laughter, same day release as Dreamcar. And moving on to our last album we're going to review is Wolves, which I was surprised myself as much as Paramore that this was released. I didn't buy this album until about 4 or 5 days before the album release, because that's when I found out. And the moment I found out, I had to reserve this on Amazon, and it definitely has a really good cover. This is actually my favorite cover by them, and it has a wolf on it, which it has a nice shade, and then wolves are one of my favorite animals.
Yes, spirit animal. I was gonna say this was released by Virgin Records, of course, and it was released on June 9th, which is also Johnny Depp's birthday.
Yes. And funny thing, we used to saw Rise Against live like probably a couple weeks ago over at Tampa, performing with Deftones, and also one of the opening bands was Thrice, which I was surprised about because I just listened to a couple songs from Thrice on the radio, and they were actually really talented. The stage was amazing. The way they played their instruments, the sound, it sounds just very nicely alternative. It mix of metal and punk and mixed the ones, and it has just a strong feel. I could definitely see a lot of potential in that band growing.
Thrice?
Yeah, Thrice.
They've been around for a while, and I used to listen to them before Ride Against, actually. I really love Music Box and The Artist in the Ambulance. Both really good songs. I don't think they played either one, but...
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good concert. It certainly had a lot of fun, and I'm definitely want Rise Against to play again, or hopefully in Orlando. I've seen them. This would be my third time seeing them. But in that concert, they actually played the songs from this album, which is just recently released. And when the most popular song, Violence, came on, where they played that, they had this big banner that just dropped and showed off this cover of this wolf, which is epic.
Yes.
And
wolves are always epic.
Yes, and they actually have the first song on this album is called Wolves, which is really good. It really clues you right in. It has about 10 tracks, and so far the Violence is the most hooky song in here, in my opinion. But a lot of these songs is very punk based, and it's also a lot of distortion, like they hear in most Rise Against sounds. But what what makes this different from the other albums they released before is the fact that it seems like this one is leaning towards what we're going to do in America today. As not that I'm going to get I'm not going to get political right now or anything like that by any means. This is not what my page is about.
Do it, I dare you.
No. But that's what Rise Against is about. It's about sticking it to the country and speaking out the truth. And I thought this album speaks a lot about what we're going through, like House of Fire, the violence, like violence in our nature. And there's also this thing called Politics of Love, which is a great song. It's very melodic. If you guys ever listen to Aurelia by AF5 from their recent Blood album,
which I think is the
like
best
this.
I think it really is the best from
Beautiful.
the album. It's a gorgeous song.
Beautiful song.
I've said that before.
And yes, this song is just, this album is very strong, very solid. It definitely is a fast-paced based kind of music. It's it's very powerful. A lot of typical. I don't want to say typical, but it just has a lot of strong riffs, and
it sounds like Rise Against.
Yes.
It goes with the rest of their catalog very well. However, it also has a newness about it that you can hear, an urgency in it, which, like you were saying, is very relevant to the times. We know what they're talking about, and it's a very powerful message. I think very urgent, and I think it's inspiring. To get up and make positive change in society, in the world, instead of just being complacent, sticking your head in the sand like an ostrich, and letting things happen just because you're scared and you don't want to deal with it. We can help a lot more than we think we can, and it's our job to make the world better and take care of each other.
And it's just well expressed through these albums they make. It's just, this one definitely speaks out a lot to our society, and it's definitely a well done album. And I think they're writing another album soon.
I think if I remember correctly, I think Tim recently said oh, here's a new song from an upcoming album that we're doing. I may have misinterpreted that, but it seems like they're working on one very shortly.
Which, of course, they're an active band. They're really good at keeping consistency with the albums, at least coming out at certain times. And after we listen to this album, I'm definitely looking forward to what they'll write next.
Yeah.
And of course, it all just depends on what they're going through, or what we're going through as a society. And they always make songs about a lot of different things, which every single album seems to have a specific reason behind everything.
A lot like Green Day too, in that same kind of
Yes,
way.
and we'll definitely talk more about Green Day in another video, because we'll get to the subject of Blink-182 and Green Day. So if you guys ever follow our page up, you will definitely have something coming up about that.
Yes,
and I'm definitely excited for that.
Green Day just released a new album as well, and it's
Revolution Radio.
Fantastic, I love it. So we'll definitely talk about that also very soon.
But yes, and that concludes this. This is a very solid album, and so far all three albums have been great. These are definitely first half of the year release. This shows that this year is a good year for music. A lot of performances coming up, a lot of live shows, a lot of new albums, music videos, and
we're excited. We're still excited for the shows that we've already seen this year, but we're excited for the ones that we have yet to see, such as Paramore in September. What is it? Is it the 13th?
I think we're seeing Depeche Mode at the time.
Oh, okay.
No, we're seeing Paramore, yes, in that time.
The 13th, I believe, at the Dr. Phillips Center for Performing Arts in downtown Orlando, which I've driven past, but I haven't gone in yet, the new building, so I'm excited for that.
Yes, and we'll probably do some videos up there, maybe do some reviews. Yeah. But yeah, this concludes our 3 album review release. We'll do more videos because this is very exciting. And if you guys have any recommendations for what albums for us to check out and maybe talk about it, present it to you, put it in the comments. Feel free to subscribe if you want to, of course. I'm not going to force you. It's up to you. Subscribe. Exactly. It's your choice. Also, check out Showyowl's page. Also, our Instagram. I have Instagram too. TakesWalksify. Pretty simple, like my YouTube page. Yeah. But yes, we will see you next time. I really hope you guys enjoyed our video. And we'll definitely have some more coming up. Yes. And keep up with our pages. We'll maybe show you a couple surprises.
And again, we apologize for the camera quality. For now, we're working with what we've got, which is a laptop
that I had for many
camera
years.
That he's had for many years. So.
But this computer got me through college. And you know what? Just think of this as a vintage, old-fashioned, kind of like vinyl base.
It's like a filter,
Yeah, think of that.
Filter. Yeah. We didn't even have to add a filter. It's just now it's really doing that, Old school.
But yes, that concludes our video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you next time. Peace.